You wake to the sound of rain. Again. It's been raining for weeks now, and the spring of 1315 feels wrong. The air is cold, heavy, suffocating. You step outside your small wooden dwelling, and your feet sink into mud that wasn't there yesterday. The fields stretch before you, dark and waterlogged. The wheat you planted with hope just weeks ago is drowning. You can see it wilting, rotting at the roots. This isn't normal. Rain in spring is expected. But this is relentless. The sky is a bruised gray, swollen with clouds that never break. You look to your neighbors. They stand in their doorways, silent, watching the water rise. No one speaks. No one knows what to say. Because deep down, beneath the cold rain soaking through your clothes, you feel it. Something terrible has begun, and it won't stop. Before the rain, life was hard but predictable. You lived in a world governed by seasons. Spring meant planting. Summer meant growth. Autumn meant harvest. Winter meant survival. The cycle repeated, year after year, and you trusted it. Your village, like thousands across Europe, depended entirely on the land. There were no grocery stores, no backup plans. If the harvest failed, you starved. But failures were rare. The climate had been kind for generations. Populations grew. Towns expanded. You had enough to eat, enough to trade. Life wasn't comfortable, but it was stable. You owned maybe 2 sets of clothes, a wooden bowl, a knife. Your wealth was measured in grain and livestock, and that was enough. But this system had no margin for error. 1 bad season could mean hunger. 2 could mean death. And now, as the rain hammers down, you realize how fragile everything truly was. Weeks turn into months. It's now summer, but the sun never comes. The rain is constant, a gray curtain that blurs the horizon. Your fields are no longer fields. They're swamps. The wheat that survived the initial flooding is now black with rot. You wade through knee-deep water, trying to salvage anything, but there's nothing left. The grain disintegrates in your hands, slick and foul-smelling. You're not alone. Across Europe, from England to Poland, from Scandinavia to the Alps, the same nightmare unfolds. Entire harvests wiped out. Stores from last year are running low. Bread prices double, then triple. You watch your neighbors begin to ration. Meals shrink. Children cry from hunger. The village elder calls a meeting, but what can be said? Prayer? You've prayed. The rain doesn't care. You begin to understand. This isn't a storm. This is a catastrophe. And no one is coming to save you. Your cattle are dying. You hear them before you see them, low, desperate sounds echoing through the rain. When you reach the pen, the scene is grotesque. Cows stand chest-deep in cold, muddy water, shivering, eyes dull. Some have already collapsed, too weak to rise. The mud sucks them down. You try to pull one free, but the animal is heavy, exhausted, and the ground won't let go. Within days, disease spreads. Liver fluke, hoof rot, infections you can't name. One by one, they die. And with them dies your primary source of protein, your plowing power, your trade value. Across the continent, livestock populations collapse. Sheep drown in flooded pastures. Pigs wallow in filth and sicken. Horses, the most valuable animals, are slaughtered for meat as desperation grows. You're left staring at carcasses rotting in the rain, knowing that without these animals, next year's planting is impossible. Even if the rain stops, you've lost the tools to recover. The roads are gone. What were once dirt paths connecting village to village are now rivers of mud. Carts sink to their axles. Horses refuse to move. Trade, the lifeblood of medieval Europe, grinds to a halt. No grain moves from surplus regions to starving ones. No salt, no tools, no help. Your village is alone, isolated. You hear rumors from travelers who manage to trudge through. Other towns are sealing their gates, hoarding what little food remains. Merchants who once moved freely are now attacked on the roads, their goods stolen by desperate men. Bandits multiply. Law dissolves in the rain. You realize something chilling. Even if food existed somewhere, it can't reach you. The infrastructure you took for granted, fragile dirt roads and wooden bridges, has failed. You're trapped in a dying landscape with no escape. The rain continues, the mud deepens, and the world beyond your village might as well not exist. If this journey into one of history's darkest chapters is gripping you, if you want to explore more untold stories of survival and collapse, subscribe now. We dig deep into the moments that shaped our world, the disasters forgotten by time. Join us. Now, back to 1316. A year has passed since the reign began, and society is unraveling. The hunger is no longer just physical. It's madness. You see it in people's eyes. A hollow, animal desperation. Neighbors you've known your entire life no longer speak. They watch you. They watch your children. Trust evaporates. The church, once the pillar of order, offers prayers but no food. Priests starve alongside their congregations. Some flee. Some preach that this is divine punishment, that God has abandoned Europe for its sins. Riots break out in cities. Bakeries are stormed. Grain stores are looted and burned. You hear stories that freeze your blood. People turning on each other. The chronicles don't lie. In Ireland, in Poland, in France, the records speak of the unthinkable. Cannibalism. Parents abandon children they can't feed. Orphans wander roads, skeletal, begging. And some, the records say, are eaten. You don't want to believe it. But hunger does something to the mind. It strips away everything human, leaving only the will to survive. You've seen families disintegrate. Fathers who left to find food and never returned. Mothers who went silent, rocking empty cradles. The social fabric, woven over centuries, tears apart in months. People eat grass, tree bark, boiled leather. Anything. In some towns, criminals are executed and their bodies disappear before burial. No one asks where they went. The rain keeps falling. The mud keeps rising. And humanity, tested beyond endurance, reveals what it becomes when all hope is lost. You survive, but the cost is a darkness you'll carry forever. The children go first. You notice it slowly, then all at once. The babies stop crying because they're too weak. Toddlers sit motionless, swollen bellies tight with starvation. By 1317, child mortality has skyrocketed. Entire generations are lost. Families that had 4, 5, 6 children now have none. The old die next, then the sick, then anyone whose body can't endure endless cold and hunger. You bury them in shallow graves when you have the strength. Often, you don't. Bodies are left in homes, in streets, in ditches. The living are too exhausted to care for the dead. Orphans form packs, wild-eyed, feral, stealing scraps from the few who still have anything. Some are taken in by monasteries, if the monasteries themselves haven't collapsed. Most simply vanish. Europe's population, which had been growing for generations, plummets. 10%, 15%, in some regions 25%. Gone, and the rain still falls. Then, in late 1317, something changes. The rain slows, the clouds thin. For the first time in over 2 years, you see the sun. It's weak, pale, but it's there. You stand in your ruined field, and for a moment, you feel hope. But the hope is fragile. The damage is done. Your seed stores are depleted. Your animals are dead. Your neighbors are dead. The land itself is poisoned, waterlogged, compacted. Even with sun, the soil won't yield. It takes years for the crops to return to normal. And even when they do, Europe is changed. The population loss is staggering. Villages are abandoned. Fields return to forest. The economy collapses. Trust between communities is shattered. The Great Famine doesn't just kill people. It kills the optimism of the medieval warm period, the belief that life would keep improving. It reveals how quickly everything can fall apart. And it sets the stage. 30 years later, in 1347, the Black Death arrives, and it finds a Europe still weakened, still traumatized, still struggling to recover from the famine. The population, malnourished and broken, has no resistance. The plague kills half of what remains. Historians argue that without the Great Famine, the Black Death wouldn't have been so catastrophic. The rain of 1315 didn't just drown crops. It drowned an entire era. The medieval world before the famine was one of growth, of possibility. The world after was darker, colder, more suspicious. You survived the rain, but you never forgot. None of Europe did. The Great Famine of 1315 stands as a brutal reminder. Nature doesn't negotiate. Climate doesn't care about human plans. And when the rain starts, and it doesn't stop, everything you know can wash away. You were there. You felt it. And now, you know how close we always are to collapse.